Joining us are Olivier Richard in lieu of Christian Patouraux, Cacific Broadband Satellites, and Fabien Jordan, CEO of Astrocast. So love to hear from you both. If you can take turns telling us about your startups, what problems you're solving, who's your target market, and tell us more about your product or service. Olivier, why don't we start with you?
Hi, everyone. Very nice to meet you. Do you have any guidance on how I can eventually share a presentation? Maybe because it will be better to explain a bit what Cassific about.
Sure. Let's see. I think you see at the bottom of your screen.
Screen share, excellent.
Yeah, screen share. There you go.
Application window. Sorry for that. Let me try to do this. Can you see my screen right now or not?
I can indeed. Yep, it's fine.
Excellent. So quickly an introduction about Cassific. So Cassific is a satellite company that has been incorporated in 2013 in Singapore, with the main goal of providing internet across Southeast Asia, mainly to underserved area. So Christian is unfortunately unable to attend tonight, but he's been working in the satellite industry for more than 25 years. Working with the largest name in the satellite industry, working for SES, O3B, Measat. And unlike, I would say, the inheritance from those satellite companies focusing on broadcast, he was very keen on sharing broadcast for those people staying in dark zone. So back in 2013, he decided to start this company, providing internet access for those people, affordable and I would say high quality services. He started raising a couple of funds, discussing with people, then had a couple of off-takers of the capacity. Moving fast forward after raising a couple of rounds, he managed in February 2017 to order his first satellite, which is delivering, second largest satellite actually, delivering a broadband over Southeast Asia, Indonesia, Philippines. Moving fast forward, December 2019, after buying a rocket, he managed to launch his first satellite and enter into commercial services in March 2020. And maybe as a quick introduction and understanding a bit what's the impact of Cassific, I'd like to share with you today a short video showing what is Cassific about. You will be brought, I would say, introduced to a couple of team members, as well as showing the satellite. So I hope you 4 or 5 minutes to see what is Cassific about.
Oh, I don't hear the audio.
Sorry? Oh, wait. Shit, if you cannot hear the audio, it's terrible. I'm sorry, I'm not very familiar with. Do you know how to share the audio? Is there?
Well,
do you know how to share the audio? Because I'm sorry for that. It's very bad if you cannot hear the audio.
Maybe give it one more try there.
You still can see the screen or not?
Nope, the screen went away. And I might suggest, Olivier, that maybe you can just give us your own summary of what you're doing and the problem solving and all that.
Okay, as a short introduction, so I've been introduced to Cassific back in 2015. Back then I was working with a private equity fund, and we helped Cassific to raise their first fund. We are very keen on investing, knowing that it's going to change the face of Southeast Asia. Back then it was a small team. The project was very ambitious. A lot of people had doubt on the capacity of such a small team to launch a satellite. Today I joined them. So after working, I work in different companies thereafter. I joined 6 months ago. They managed to launch a satellite. Now they're providing services to more than 4,000 people. They're growing fast. and they experienced like the steep increase in demand. And today they're looking at expanding further, like knowing like, maybe I can show this, like let me show this to you because it's very, let's forget about the, so Cassific has been founded by really like a team of like a veteran space industry who understand like the challenges, not only technical, but also like entering into those markets. So Christian, Tony is not able to be here, like more than 20, like I would say like 25 years of experience working with the big one. And team, you also have like Rob, he's been like he's a CTO of like Cassific. He has designed the first satellite. He has been working with SES Hughes, but also like he's a veteran like from Boeing. On the commercial side, you have Brandon. So Brandon is the Chief Commercial Officer. He's more than 20 years of experience. He's been working with Roshan, with and a subsidiary of AT&T. Very familiar with the STAN countries. So he's working in Afghanistan, Kazakhstan. He also has some experience in Africa. In terms of like financing, we have Mark. Mark is the CFO of the company. Very well versed into like infrastructure financing. He's actually been working for like more than 2 decades with Macquarie. So we have a very like experienced team, which is quite unusual for a team in Southeast Asia. I'm talking this like being like looking at company in like Southeast Asia. What is like Cassific today? Cassific today is like one satellite in space delivering like 42 gigabits of like capacity over like 25 nations. It's the second largest satellite ever built. It's like fully focused on broadband, which is quite unusual. So it's really a pure play on broadband, while most of the I would say historical operators like are still like focused on the broadcast, even though like the cash flow is somehow like reducing in terms of like attractiveness.
I'm going to ask you to pause right there, Olivier, because I want to get Fabien to be able to jump in and share with us a little bit about what's going on at Astrocast as well. So Fabien, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us a little bit about the problem you're solving and who's your target market.
So the target market is we are addressing...
Oh, I'm sorry, that was for Fabien. I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry.
We'll come back to Olivier. I just want to give Fabien a chance to jump in here. We'll come back to you. Go ahead, Fabien.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Olivier. Thank you, Catherine. At Astrocast, we are on an exciting mission. We are building the IoT network for the planet. We are a fast-growing scale-up of about 60 employees, mostly based in Switzerland. And I just have a couple of slides, if I can share that with everyone as well. So let me... Okay, can you see these slides?
Not yet. Oh, there we go.
Okay, great. So yeah, very briefly, we have a great team of experts leading this mission with strong expertise in the space industry. José Achache is the former deputy director of the French Space Agency, the CNES. We have Shell Carlson, our CFO, who is a former president of Sea Launch, a geostationary rocket company that put 39 payloads into orbit, and many other great experience. I won't go into the detail of that. So when we talk about IoT, we usually talk about terrestrial networks. So these are typically LP1 networks or cellular networks. They cover roughly 10% of the globe, and this is not going to change much even with 5G or 6G, because simply the economics doesn't support that. So the only way to connect assets in the rest of the world is by using satellite, right? So, but until now, there was no solution to directly connect IoT devices globally in a cost-effective way, and this is exactly why we created Astrocast. We're using a network of advanced nanosites in low Earth orbit, and we can now connect assets anywhere on the globe. And given our recent achievements in orbit, Astrocast is now considered as the leader in this new industry, not only in Europe but globally. So we're building our advanced satellites in-house from scratch in our new facilities, where we can build and test about 30 satellites per year. The satellites are in the 5 to 10 kilogram class, and they cost about $200,000 to 2 years ago, we launched two precursor satellites for a demonstration mission. It was a very successful mission that really helped us position Astrocast as the leader, because it allowed us to optimize the system and onboard dozens of pilot customers all over the world They tested the system in the field from their assets, and they validated the end-to-end communication. On the right picture, you can see our first 5 commercial satellites that were successfully placed into orbit in January this year with the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. And we are currently using these 5 satellites to serve our first customers who need between 1 and 3 messages per day from their asset. We are currently building 15 additional satellites like these ones that will be launched later this year to reduce the latency of our service. So as a satellite operator, we have integrated all the elements of the value chain from the communication module on one side that we sell low-cost hardware product that can be very easily integrated in our customers' equipment, and that can then transmit data directly to the satellite network at ultra-low power using miniaturized and low-profile antenna. The other side of the chain, you have the data management platform where our customers can retrieve the data transmitted by their asset. We can manage their subscriptions. They can subscribe to additional services that we provide. It's important to note also that the system is bidirectional. It's a two-way system allowing our customers not only to retrieve data, but to send commands and software updates to their devices in the field. We are operating our satellites from our facilities in a secure way. We've developed the full stack of technologies required to operate the constellation with features that are highly specific to our needs. We also implemented a lot of automation using the most recent technologies. So just a quick view of the product. So here is how our module called the Astronaut looks like. So you can see the module as well as the antenna. Both are very small, very flat, and very low cost. This is by far the best technology you can find today for sensor to satellite IoT. We also offer a full dev kit with everything our customers need to integrate the module into their product and applications. And we have different support programs that we sell in parallel. These programs are customized for corporates, SMEs, developers, universities. And we have sold many of those already. And this is really a great way for us to make sure the customer progress rapidly in the development and the integration phase, which is important because it reduces the time to activation of the units in the field. And this activation is very important because it's when we start generating recurring revenue. So let's have a quick look at the business model. Our business model is very easy to understand, quite typical from the telecom industry. We sell a low-cost hardware product to enable recurring revenue from data plans. These data plans are billed monthly, and the contracts are usually signed for at least 3 to 5 years. So typical monthly data plan range between less than $1 and $5 to $10, depending on the amount of data and different factors. The main sectors that can benefit from Astrocast there are many of them. We have a very big fragmented market, so from environmental to maritime applications, agriculture, mining, oil and gas, etc. The serviceable market is very large with tens of millions of units distributed in different segments. And really, Astrocast is uniquely positioned to grab the lion's share of this global satellite IoT market with about 9 million units targeted by 2025. We are aiming to achieve about $100 million of recurring revenue from data plans, from data subscriptions by 2025. And we are interacting with hundreds of potential customers and partners and signed several contracts already. So we're currently raising a 25 million A2 round. We have a strong US lead investor, and we are now onboarding additional investors to hopefully close the round very soon. So if you're interested to seize the opportunity, please reach out to me. We are going to connect the planet.
Well, I have a few questions for both of you, but I want to also give Olivier a chance if he wanted to share any additional slides or say anything, because I know I did cut you off. So anything else you wanted to share about kind of the problem you're solving and the target market before we get into some other questions, Olivier?
No worries. I think it's quite different. So sorry, it was not working because I think it was giving quite a good understanding of what we're doing. It's just today you have more than 30% of the population who are staying in dark zone. We have no access to internet or very poor access to internet. And in Southeast Asia, it's like enable connectivity. So I think like providing broadband is not only like helping those people to have access to this, but also like access to the modern world. Terrestrial network, in one word, are very efficient to connect like high population. But as soon as you reach like, I would say like 50 kilometers away from the main point, like those people don't have access to internet. And while those like communication has been developed like intensively when it comes to the US, to Europe or developed market, the unique positioning of like Cassific has been like has managed to achieve is like doing this like in very like I would say fragmented markets, which are Southeast Asia, where this is most needed.
I'd love to hear from both of you about the competitive landscape for your companies and how you feel you stack up. Olivier, why don't you keep going?
Today, the competitive landscape is actually very poor. So I'm just going to give a word about technology. So technology, when it comes to geostationary satellite, used to be like a fixed like satellite. So you have like a satellite which is like providing a wide coverage, which used to be very expensive, so reserved for very specific application. And then I think 15 years ago, you start to have like high throughput satellites where you somehow like gain I would say 15 to 20x in terms of like decrease in pricing, which makes it more affordable, is still reserved. Lately, there was a new technology developed, which has been like in talk a lot, basically like FlexSat satellite, where you start to be able to to provide affordable broadband plans to everyone. Meaning like you can have an internet connection for a company which is 5 to 10 people at around like $150 to $200 a month. So I think that's the main difference. And most of the people are focused on broadcast. Instead of like moving to broadband, they're rather like focused on what their historical business. I think the specificity that is brought by Cassific is focusing on broadband, where you have the design of satellites, which is different. Meaning we today are like price leader on our market and somehow like bring like disruption, bringing like affordable plans to everyone.
Excellent. Fabien, how about you? What are those competitive aspects of the market, and how is Astrocast stacking up?
Sure, thank you. So we are really on the other side of the market, or not the broadband, but really the IoT. We're talking about short messages transmission everywhere on the planet. So you have the established players, so Iridium, Globalstar, Orcom, and it's pretty much it. So they are, I would say, they are what I would call the premium IoT. They focus really on high margin IoT, and they have we don't think they have any intention in really going down in the lower end, the M2M market. We think this is a really important market, but to really penetrate that market, you need a different model, and this is what we're bringing. We're disrupting this part of the market with a new model that is based on one assumption that we made a long time ago. You need the right frequency, right? In this business, it's all about spectrum, and really the best compromise you get to send a short message. If you want low power, if you want miniaturized electronics and everything, it's L-band. And today we are the only one among the new players. We are the only one who managed to access L-band, which is used by Iridium, Globalstar, and Inmarsat and Thuraya. So this gives us a tremendous advantage, because as you saw in the picture, our antenna is very small, very flat, a bit like a GPS antenna that you have in your phone. And this is difficult to beat. I would say from the technology point of view, we are really well ahead of this, I would say. Then there's the question of funding. There's the question of go-to-market, etc. And we are very well positioned as well. We have gained traction recently with this demonstration in orbit that was really a high success compared to other demonstrations that we have seen around. And really for us, it was the best way to start our market entry. And right now we're really raising funds to grow rapidly. We are opening Europe, Africa, and Oceania. The step is Asia, and the last step is the Americas. So from the market access point of view, we're progressing very efficiently, and this will allow us to serve customers globally.
So those are some exciting milestones. Any other milestones that you want to share with our listeners?
Yes. So one big milestone for us is to reach the full constellation. We have launched 5 satellites just recently. We're going to launch 5 in July and then 10 at the very end of the year, next year. And then we launch 30 satellites per year. So we already serve the market of that is happy with the latency of 24 hours or down to a few hours. But really the key for us, where the market really opens up, is when we have a latency that is below 15 minutes, and this we can offer when we have 80 satellites up there. And that's, we're building the intermediary steps to reach that goal as soon as possible.
Fantastic. Olivier, I'd love to hear more about the milestones that you've reached at Cacific as well.
I think the milestone has been so today Cassific has raised $230 million. They have in space operating for a year, the second largest commercial satellite ever launched. We're delivering today annual recurring revenue of 50 million, which is set to grow to 50 million within the coming 2 years. Most of it is wholesale contract. I think milestone we would like to achieve is launching Cassific 2 and 3, because there is a tremendous demand in those markets. And I think we are very well positioned to address those, knowing we have local understanding of the markets, we have distributors, local partnership, and I think that's what's going to be the next step for the company to grow and achieve its potential.
Fantastic. What's the story with your next capital raise, and why are investors excited about it?
I think it's a unique position. No one has been able to take over those highly fragmented markets. In terms of regulation, is difficult. I think in terms of technology, you have all the incumbent operators who are managing a fleet of old satellites, which are delivering satellites for very specific use for people who are able to pay a lot of a significant price. And today, Cassific has demonstrated that with this model, they're able to address the needs of everyone. I think it's going to come even down further. Technology has evolved a lot, especially with what I mentioned about the FlexSat. I think today you can afford to provide I would say a connection which is working for everyone at reasonable pricing, and that's why in terms of time, it's the right time to take over those markets as long as you know them. Most of the operators, the global operators, so we talk about Viasat, the ITU Telecom, or even the SES of these words, they are scared of this market because it's very hard to enter, because you cannot apply the deployment methods they can use in those markets. I think what has been achieved over the past 5 years is mainly not only I would say the technical challenge and the financial challenge to raise the fund and to enter those markets, but also understanding the market. And today we have, to give you an idea, today we are more than 4,000 sites deployed, and we're deploying 500 additional sites per month. Meaning in terms of growth is quite substantial, and the market is expected to grow at a rate of 20% per annum. And while talking about a global market for the satellite today of 7 billion, it's supposed to reach at least 50 billion within the coming 5 to 10 years. There's really a challenge, which is not only providing internet, but also all the implications. The internet penetration rate has increased tremendously over the last year only. You have the internet penetration rate that increased as much as over the past 4 years, especially with COVID. COVID definitely impacted the business, but has shown the importance of having access for everyone when it comes to hospitals, to government, etc. And in those remote areas today, there is no sustainable solution, and Cassific is the only one to provide this. And to a point where even one of our main markets is Indonesia. Indonesian government today has ordered a satellite, which is 3 times as big as the Cassific one, to serve their own market, just because there is not enough capacity. And everyone is begging for capacity, there is no supply. The main challenge here is when you it's not as a LEO satellite that you can build in a short time. When you order, between the time you order and the time you become in operation, there is 2 to 3 years. Meaning you have to plan in advance. And in terms of I'd say financial profile, somehow it's highly capital intensive at the start. So meaning you pay a lot for your satellite. You have of course the installment, which is split over the period of the construction. Then you get your revenue 2 years after. So it's the right timing, because I think we reached a point where it becomes affordable for everyone, and everyone is begging for it. And it's not surprised that you have the LEO constellation for broadband. I'm sorry, it's not for IoT, but you have the Elon Musk who's coming, saying he's coming to India, etc. You also have the big operators who say, okay, now it's time to come to Asia. because somehow the pricing, like the GDP and the price of the broadband make it affordable for everyone. So there's really a challenge, like somehow you bridge the gap of connectivity in those countries.
Terrific. Well, I know, Fabien, you mentioned your next capital round, but we'd love to hear more about what's exciting for your investors in that.
Yes, absolutely. So we have raised about 30 million so far. Now we're raising an initial A2 round of 25 million. But as everybody else, we have seen how the landscape is evolving. We've been approached by several SPACs. Some of our shareholders are also raising the question: do we want to go public? So there are many discussions right now. But we've been focused on raising this A2 round, and this is going to close soon. What they love about the current situation of the company is really the fact that we are, we have entertained discussions with many consumers, but really now we can start to serve them. And we see something that is very interesting is that the terrestrial cellular company, the large telcos, are looking at solutions to extend their coverage. So we do position ourselves as a competitor of the cellular players. We really position ourselves as an extension of the terrestrial networks, and we see plenty of applications where they need to design like universal tracking solutions. So you extend the coverage that you can track mobile assets in remote areas. And we are now talking about massive deployment together with some of these telcos. And this is very exciting, obviously, and this is for the short term.
Very exciting. So let's go ahead and open it up to our investor community to ask questions. Please go ahead and click on the raised hand button to ask your question, and we'll bring you up on stage. And please be patient. There may be a queue in front of you. And the raise hand over on the right-hand side of your screen if there's any questions. I'd also like to point out at this time to please click on the startup evaluation form in your meeting invite or in the chat window to complete the evaluation for Cacific broadband satellites and Astrocast. And we do have a question here. And we're going to bring Florine up on stage. There we go.
Cool. Jens, just, I know we are kind of running out of time. Just a primer. Can you run on the main numbers, KPIs, in terms of revenue and projections? I'm not sure, we are entirely aware of the size of, of the commercial aspect here. Thank you so much. So current revenue and
so the market for IoT, you see a lot of big numbers out there. What we have done is a bottom-up approach. So just talking with the customers, and we end up with a very conservative number of 30 million units in 2025, and we can grab 10% of that market. In the IoT market, usually talk about number of units to have a good representation of that, and these units can generate an ARPU of between $1 and $10 per month.
Check. Olivier, how about you?
So for this year, we achieved like 10 million of revenue. Next year is like 30 million and 56 million revenue for 2022. This is mostly like secure revenue because we have long-term contracts. So on average, we have 5 to 10 years contracts with like large telco or government. As far as the target is to reach by 2030 a revenue of $1 billion. And this is not only the first satellite, it's also like having like a fleet build up. So we expect by 2030 to have at least 6 to 7 satellites in orbit.
Terrific. Well, thank you both so much. This has been a very interesting conversation. I'd like to give you a virtual round of applause, and please join us in the next startup session.
Thank you.